Present.
Here.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. And I want to thank my colleagues for being here and coming in on a day that we don't normally meet. But again, we're trying to knock out as many of these departments and sections as we can because we have so many under the Department of Public Safety and also under the Safety Committee. And again, to the viewing public, we're attempting to do pre-budget reviews of various departments and divisions. So we can get a better handle as we go into the budget round as it pertains to potential pre-budget requests and issues that might be affecting each of the various sections that we're hearing. We will be hearing today Office of Professional Standards and the Police Review Board. I would ask the Office of Professional Standards to come up to the table if they are here, and they are here. Come right in the center. Is there anyone else coming?
The chair will be here as well, sir.
Do you know when they're coming?
He's on his way.
Okay. Then let me, okay. And there is also a handout for all members that has been put together by our research staff. And please take a look at that. And do you have any indication as to how long it's going to take to get here?
Mr. Chair, I know he's walking, he's just coming off the elevator.
Okay. So he's just up the hallway?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay.
If it pleases the chair, we can start. I can start the overview for the Office of Professional
Okay, then
Yes.
please identify yourself.
So my name is Marcus
Hold on,
Perez.
can you get,
Yes.
yep. Bring it close.
Bring it very
All the
close.
way Everybody be so scared of the mic. Just go on and put it up here.
All right. Good morning, council
Go.
members. My name is Marcus Perez. I'm the administrator for the Office of Professional Standards.
Okay. And we have a PowerPoint?
We do, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair and council members, in front of you is a PowerPoint package that was also provided to you in handout, along with just a summary, like an assessment report. I've been in position for almost 6 months now, so it just the assessment report is more about discussing some of the innovations and initiatives that we're taking at OPS and how we're addressing things. Mr. Chair, the packet you're looking at right now actually, well, that's your packet.
Yeah, I have
Yep.
my own.
Okay, so we're good. So just moving to the next slide, this is the agenda. So introductions are done. The chair, Mr. Sharp, will be joining us soon. I think we're all very familiar with the references that governor and place mandates on OPS. And that comes out of the consent decree. And this is actually, what OPS follows as its guide. It's its Bible if we were going to talk religion, right?
So again, to the viewing public, the Office of Professional Standards, as you just indicated, came about as a result of the federal intervention in the city of Cleveland, correct?
No, Mr. Chair. So the Office of Professional Standards existed prior.
I understand that, but it was expanded as a result of the federal intervention.
Correct. It was
Okay.
restructured, yes, Mr.
Sure.
Chair.
Okay. So continue.
Okay, Mr. Chair. So these are just some of those sections within those, within the consent decree, within issue 24 that, that gives us our mandate and that we basically use to shape and influence all of our operations within the Office of Professional Standards and the CPRB, which is the Civilian Police Review Board. This is a police oversight structure. What we're going to focus in on is really what's circled in red, which is the Office of Professional Standards, which falls right underneath the Civilian Police Review Board. And so we are an independent agency. We still rely on the city for all of our resources and for a lot of our policies, but at the same time, we are independent in our reporting style, and therefore we are able to do thorough, fair, non-biased investigations and report that information without anybody stonewalling or preventing us from speaking the truth. This is our mission statement. A part of our mission statement, which isn't only to serve the citizens, but it's also to help inform CDP and the city leadership as well by making recommendations, identifying trends through our data sets and our data collection that really focus on the institution of the Cleveland Division of Police. And by the institution, we're talking about training, we're talking about equipment, we're talking about those things that at times sometimes bring the officer in front of us when we have an allegation against them. So we really take a hard look now at focusing in on that because that's where you make change. Making change isn't really at the individual level, although we do make those recommendations and the CPRB does make their findings. But the most important thing that OPS can provide the city of Cleveland is true trends, true data that is clean and that is relevant to what's actually going on in their communities and within the city. Types of complaints that we take are lack of service, no service, improper procedures, unprofessional behavior, conduct, harassment, biased policing, missing, damaging of property, and excessive force. The things that we dismiss is when an allegation comes in and it's a non-Cleveland Division of Police officer. So it might be a Metro officer, or it might be the Highway Patrol, it might be just another law enforcement agency that's outside of the CDP. We don't have jurisdiction, so we are not allowed to investigate those. What we do is we provide assistance to those complainants to at least get them the numbers of if there is an OPS that exists, or at least a number to their call center so that they can file those complaints or those grievances that they might have.
Okay. Just for a moment there, and would the chairperson introduce himself? Pull it right up close.
Good morning. My name
Good
is
morning.
Billy Sharp, and I'm the chair of the CPRB.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. So right now, in the past, a citizen who had a complaint, they could go right to the district house, they could come downtown, they could come to the safety director's office. Has that process changed at all?
That process hasn't changed. But
Okay.
what we've seen with those complaints is coming through the districts, mostly. We don't really see anything coming through the director of public safety or through the mayor's cell.
Right.
It's really being done at the district center, and I think that's due to once a citizen says, I want to make a complaint, those officers provide them a complaint form. They assist them with that complaint form.
But a citizen, so again, this is being viewed on Channel 20, a citizen would not make a complaint directly to you, to the OPS.
Oh, no, sir, they will. Yes,
They can.
They absolutely can.
Okay, well, I think that needs to be clarified.
Yes,
It needs
sir.
to be explained.
So-
So they can go to the fifth, they can go to any district. So if the citizen's watching this and they feel they have been improperly treated,
Yes, sir.
they can go to any of the district houses, they can go to the police headquarters, they can go to the safety director's office, but they can also come to you to make that complaint.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
But also,
Go ahead.
Councilman, as Mr. Perez said, they can go direct to that police officer at the time when they feel the offense occurred. The police officer is obligated to give them the form at that point.
Okay. That individual, so the forms are carried in the cars?
Yes.
Okay,
That is correct,
thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Continue.
And so this is just the OPS process that we currently have when a complaint is alleged. So it comes into the office. It can come in through different means, as we already stated. We can do walk-ins. We have an online service where they can go in and they can file a form online. If they do not want to come in, they can call, and we can assist them by taking it over and dictating it over the phone. If they choose, very recently, if they want somebody to come out to their home, we will send investigators out to assist them with those complaints as well. And then, as the chair stated, anytime a citizen feels like something is not right, they can request from that officer for a complaint form, and they can request from any officer that they see even after that for a form. And we have not seen. We have not heard of anybody being stonewalled. For the most part, we are getting all of those complaints. If a complaint's being filed, it's coming to us.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
So with our process, the complaints come in. We take about 1 to 3 days to review these. Obviously, in the past, we've had a fairly significant backlog. So we are working on reducing that backlog so that we can actually start to see cases within the year and then close them out within the same year. That really will assist us with creating relatable and vital trends, right? In the past, we've done cases where it's been two to a year and a half behind when the incident actually occurred. So that data is really 2 to 2.5 years from the time that we actually provide it to the citizens. So what we're trying to do is get more relevant. We're trying to make it so that we're more timely, not only in our investigations, but in that data that we're collecting, so that it actually shows what's going on in our environment, what is happening today, as recently as maybe less than a 12-month period. And I think that's how we really start to get after things and start to address things so that we're not so far behind either CDP already taking a step to change those policies, where we come up and say, hey, we feel like this policy maybe needed to be changed, and they've already done it. So it just puts us in a position to be able to make those requests, make those recommendations in a more effective and efficient manner.
Thank you. Continue.
So we have two types of cases. We have a standard case and a complex case. Typically, we won't know. If it's truly a complex case, I think we all know the extremes that those go to. When those come into our office, we're able to identify those fairly quickly. Most cases that come in are a standard case, meaning that we have about 45 days to try to finish and complete these. Within those 45 days, if the investigator identifies that there's a lot more to this allegation, it could turn into a complex case, and then we are mandated to notify the complainant that we are extending that investigation. That has not happened in the past, and now we are trying to get there to where we have a lot more touch points, at least 7 touch points within all of our investigations with our complainants, just to ensure that they're being informed and they understand what the status is. As we move forward with technology, we're going to try to develop a live dashboard so that our constituents and our citizens can go on that dashboard, put in their OPS number, and be able to see where their OPS number is at, who it's assigned to, and then how to contact that investigator if they wanted a status report on that. All of the investigators at OPS are required to give a status report regardless of where that investigation's at. At no point in time are they allowed to try to stonewall the complainant and say, I don't have that information. We have the information, and the investigators will tell them. Even if it's not favorable for what they want to hear at that time, the investigators will tell them where we're at on that investigation.
Keep going.
This is our current structure. So we are structured for 18. We're currently at 11, so we're at 69% in position. We have 5 positions that are vacant currently. All 5 of those positions are posted on NeoGov. So anybody who's watching this who feels that they have the qualifications to be an investigator, we would love for them to go out there, fill out the application. We have the community engagement officer that we're looking for within the Cleveland area as well. So we're hoping that these individuals will go out on NeoGov or on Indeed and apply so that we can interview them, bring them in, and find the best candidates, the most qualified candidates to assist us with expanding our operations and our community outreach programs. Currently, for the first time, all 3 senior positions are filled within OPS. So you have an administrator now, you have a general manager, and you have a senior investigator, all 3 permanent positions. We have our 2 union individuals, we have our data analyst, and then we have currently 7 investigators that are on staff. These are the demographics within our office. So as you can see, we're extremely diverse. We have 5 females, 6 males, and this is just in the OPS structure. So we're sitting at 5 and 6. When it comes to race, we're at 5 white, 4 African Americans, 1 Hispanic, and 1 biracial. You can see our education. The only thing I didn't give was the work experience, but you can see where we're at on education. We are recruiting and hiring the most qualified individuals that are applying for this position. One of our most recent ones has a judicial degree and came out of COPA out of Chicago and has been doing wonderful work for us, along with all the other investigators that are in our office. But it just shows the range and the experience that we have in our office. And it also lends to how we develop one another because individuals are able to go up and down the ladder in order to help with just professional development, personal development. We have different ages in our office as well, so people are at different points in their career. So if you come to the office, or when the citizens come to the office, they have an opportunity, if they're not happy with an investigator that they're currently working with, to be able to address that with us so that we can see what we can do to find the right fit. We do take a very serious look at our intake process and how we do that, and trying to match up the right personalities with the right individuals to get the best results, especially when we're working with very sensitive issues and concerns of our citizens. As far as residents go, we have 5 employees that live within the city, and then we have 6 that live outside of the city. Key programs that we have, and these fill into our data collection and our data sets, is just a number of complaints received, the non-criminal investigations we complete on the year. We do external referrals now. So external referrals is something we just started. It's an initiative where sometimes an individual does call in with a complaint, but the complaint for us isn't appropriate, meaning that it doesn't really identify a CDP officer, and the person may need different types of assistance. So we've been working with like CDP CIT, which is the crisis intervention team. We've been working with the Department of Aging to where we do a formal letter and we send it off to them for support, and they have better resources, they have better means to be able to assist some of the citizens that we do see. So we do try to link them up with those outside resources. They're there. Sometimes they just don't know about it, and we want to make sure that we're just not saying your complaint's not valid or your complaint's not appropriate. We want to take that extra step to make sure that we're actually addressing what they're calling us for. And that's just something that we've been working to get the investigators to understand. And like I said, I've been there 6 months. It wasn't something we did in the past. It's something that we are currently doing now. And they're only getting better at it. And I find that this does help to lend a little bit of legitimacy to OPS and what we stand for. We're just not saying that we can't work for you. What we're saying is we're probably not the best suited for this. Let's see if we can find something different. And if they're willing and they're wanting, they take that assistance, and I find that to be very like heartwarming when we're able to close out something like that with them. This is our data collection, and these are just sample data collections and sample data sets. So complaints received on the year. Currently, for 2023, we have 262 complaints that are in. When we start to talk about active investigations, we are at about 250 cases. This is a backlog on OPS's side of the house. When we start to talk about the CPRB, you'll see how they had a backlog in the past, and they have done a phenomenal job actually reducing that backlog. So now it's really on OPS, getting the structure, getting the right amount of investigators in, and being able to start working these so that we can 100% satisfy our requirement to the citizens. Nothing's worse than a CDP officer having an investigation or an allegation holding over them for 2 years, and then a citizen not hearing from OPS for over 2 years. That's criminal. It's criminal on my perspective. Like, if a citizen is filing an allegation, they need to have some type of resolution, or they at least need to have some type of communication so they understand what's happening and where the office is going with that. When we talk about active cases, when we talk about administrative dismissals, these are cases that come in. I spoke about this earlier. They're just inappropriate cases, things that identify officers that aren't within the Cleveland Division of Police, that are outside of it. They might be traffic tickets or parking tickets, something of that nature. And every now and then, we do get some allegations from Texas and from London. And that's only because our email address is very close to their Office of Professional Standards in London. So those are ones that are way outside the city that we end up dismissing anyways. This is just another data set, and this is something, and I chose third district, I just pulled it out of the slide deck, but this is one of those things where our data analyst has been really getting into the informations, into the fields, into the buckets, and being able to clean what we had there in the past and working with what we're putting there currently. And this is how we can assist with any of the council members in their districts, is by coming in and being able to provide a snapshot of what has happened historically and what is currently happening. Some of these, for 2023, these are allegations that are currently happening, that have happened in 2023. But we can also produce a heat map to let you know where in your district these things are happening, the time of day that it's happening. These are all of the things that we have the ability to provide you, the resources and just the information, so that you can maybe apply different resources, or you can come to us and ask us just for these snapshots of data and collections, so you just have an idea of what your citizens are going through.
So on that point, then, why aren't you supplying that now to us?
So what I'm showing you right now, sir, is what we've started. So
Okay.
this hasn't been done in the past. So
Okay.
as I said, we've had some dirty data. So for 2021, 2022, if you look at the numbers, they're very light.
Okay.
Because we're still cleaning stuff up. So I just wanted to show you guys a snapshot of where we're going and what we're able to do once we have all of our systems in place.
Because we're gonna ask for that, to really drill down, if you can, to even, not only from the standpoint of the district, we'd like to see this for all the districts, open cases, but if you can drill down to a ward level as it pertains, because I would like to see a picture. Are there more complaints coming in from one section of the city or another, or from one ward or another? I think the more you can provide us, information is power. And the more information we have, not only you have, that we have as well, then we can understand, is there a problem in a specific district? Is there a problem with leadership in a district?
Yes, sir. That's Mr. Chair. You're absolutely correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
So those are things I think that we need to have. So I'm just going to, so you know in advance, we're going to be requesting whatever you can provide us on a district and ward level. Thank you. Continue.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
No, I was just going to say,
Yep, Mr.
our
Chairman.
Administrator Perez has done a great job at getting us up to speed. As I have just came on as chair, there are some rebuilding things that we set out to do, and this is one of them, to provide better data. We hired a statistician, so we're headed right in that area.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
Council members, so this is the 2-year plan.
Yes.
And basically, this just highlights some of the things that we're looking at for 2024 as we move. We're setting the foundation now in 2023. And then as we move into 2024, we're doing the assessments, the personnel assessment, the structure assessment, and we're doing the manning assessment to ensure that we have the right skill sets in our office and that we have the ability to diversify our office so that we can truly be effective, not just by learning from one another, but by bringing in people that are able to connect with every community that's out there. And when I say every, I know that that's a tall ask. But for every investigator that we have, they are also a community engagement rep. For the community engagement, when they come on, they not only represent OPS, they represent the CPRB, they represent the city, they represent the city leadership, they represent all the stakeholders. So we want to make sure that the people we bring in have the skill sets, are qualified, and do it in such a professional manner that at the end of the day, you don't have to worry about them being out there in your communities and working and engaging your citizens. Some of the things that we're looking at right now is just reorganizing OPS, and this is just to enhance our oversight of investigations. This falls into training, development, leadership. It falls into ensuring that we have the right technology, that we're modern, that we're able to start going face-to-face and into the communities for interviews. For the longest time, OPS was just taking things from behind their desk. Now the investigators are out in public, meeting with citizens, taking complaints, showing them live time where they're at on some of their investigations. And these are just small steps. And I know they haven't reached out to everyone that has already filed a complaint or the 250 that are already in backlog. So there's going to be frustration there. But the only way we're going to move forward is by taking these small steps. And then in hopes of a year to 2 years is being able to see this pay off and see the benefits, and then being out there and the development and the training that we provided for them. There's things that we have not had in OPS that working with the CPRB will be coming in 2024, and one of them is a leadership development program, an investigator program, and that's a 40-hour block that every investigator will go through. We're working very hard with CDP on the front of being able to have access to all their GPOs, be able to train on those GPOs through their distance learning system, to be able to attend all of their oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm blacking out. It's a session, a training session that they have each quarter in order to ensure that their officers have received the proper training and are up to the standard, but we'll be able to attend that training as well. We have some NACO events that we'll be going to, as well as working with the Inspector Generals just on their curriculum and their POI. So these are things that we are looking forward to, and that you'll probably see a substantial amount of money being pushed at this, because we have to build the foundation first. And then the next year, we're just doing refresher training. We're just being able to touch those high points that we feel that are identified with the investigators during their performance evaluations and then performance objectives, identifying personal weaknesses that they may have, and then applying the right training to that to assist them and help them to become more well-rounded in their profession.
So just real quick, as Administrator Perez said, we intend in 2024 to focus a lot on training. Just as we've seen, at least as I've come on as a board member, even the initial board member training is not adequate to the cases that we have to deal with, and acclimating ourselves to Cleveland policy. So we really wanted to drill down next year on training for the board and obviously OPS staff.
Just so I can correct myself, it's in-service training.
Yes.
Question on that point.
Through the chair, to the team, currently, what does the training look like currently for board members? Like, how long is it, that type of stuff?
Through the chair. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, sorry, Councilwoman. It's inadequate. It is about, I would say, about 2 hours long. But when you get into group levels that you have to put down, or city ordinances, or those type of things, we don't even touch on that at all. And you find yourself, when you adjudicate a case, if you are going to find the officer guilty, you have to put a group level. You have to understand what that group level means. That's a lot to take in within 2 hours.
Yeah, thank you. So through the chair, I think this is something specifically that Cleveland City Council needs to look at for all boards and commissions, that we actually define, set up resources, and actually allocate specific time for just different commission members to actually be properly trained. Many times people need to be trained prior to them actually joining the board, because the work begins as soon as you go there. And this is something that Councilwoman Gray and I are looking at as we are going through the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls for another day and time. But again, I think this really highlights the need, as we're talking about budgeting, as we look for budgeting in 2024, really take an assessment of boards and commissions and making sure, those public servants are actually set up for success, so that they can do the business of the people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if I might add real quick, Mr. Chair and Councilwoman, as you know, these boards are supposed to be made up of everyday citizens, so they don't necessarily have the skill set, so the training is very, very important.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Continue.
And then through the chair to the councilwoman, in the summary report that I provided you with, your last page is actually a draft proposal, and it's an informational sheet on training and the training that we're looking at, along with the agencies that we're looking at, the type of training, the partnerships with exterior agencies, as well as the partnership with CDP on some of the things that they are able to train us on. We're also looking at CSU to help us with the Fourth Amendment and things of that nature. But it'll be on your last page within your standard report, and it has the information of why training is so important to our council members as well as to our OPS investigators.
Just a follow-up question regarding that?
Yes.
Yes, to the chair, to the administrator. Thank you. Is there a cost, do you have a estimated cost of how much potentially this, the training would be?
Yeah, so we do. So for the 40-hour block that we were looking at to bring in, and so there's several different types, well, through the chair to the council member, there's several different types of training models that we're looking at, especially for the board. Some of this stuff can be done through the city's partnerships that they already have with the universities and with the legal department, and with CDP on specific things that they have within their policy that the board members need to understand as well when they're making their findings. To answer your question, the current cost analysis that we currently have for a 40-hour block is $26,000, and that's bringing in an instructor with 14 members to sit down for a 1-week period to train all of our investigators from field interviews to operational movement when they're out in the communities to just community engagement to testimony and statement analysis into collecting data, the types of data, the type of analysis that they do. Our investigators are multifaceted, and they have to have a lot of, their aperture has to be extremely wide because there's a lot of things that we are requiring them to do in order to create a thorough, non-biased, 100% investigation that looks at the totality of the preponderance of evidence and then is recommended to the board to make a decision. Each time we get that wrong, we take away the legitimacy of the board. And Mr. Sharp and I have talked about this. And that's why the OPS is the starting, it's really the starting and the end point for oversight. If we get it wrong at our level, it's going to go up wrong and it's going to come down wrong. And that's where we find a lot of departures. That's where we find where there's a lot of disagreements on what the findings should have been. And it all starts with us. And that's something that hasn't been tracked, and that's something that is going to be tracked. So, as we discuss the collections and the data points of just the districts and the wards and how we can assist you, we're also going to give you how many of our cases have been departed. And where did that come from? And why did that happen? Because it's very important because the citizens need to understand, are we effective or are we not effective? And if we're not effective and they feel we're not effective, then we have to do the right thing and figure out what that means. And if that means that we need a change in the guard or we need a change in the way that we're doing our operations, we have to have that understanding. And we don't have that understanding currently because no one's really looked at it. And now we're taking a very hard look at it. Oversight is extremely important. It's extremely important to get this right. And it starts with OPS. It starts with OPS. I mean, I can't say that enough.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, continue.
So I'm going to pass over to Mr. Sharp, unless Mr. Sharp, you want me to take this?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So this is the Police Review Board. So they are our hire. All of our investigations go to them. This is their mission statement. So they receive all of our investigations. Our investigators attend their hearing. They present their cases. They present all the evidence that they've collected. All of the evidence that they've collected has been presented to the board prior to this meeting occurring so that every board member has an opportunity to go in, review the evidence, review the report, review the summary, and then have the ability to have dialogue with the investigator when the investigator is providing them with their findings. And that is what allows the board to have discussion about which way they're going to go on these allegations. This is currently their task org. There's a chair, a vice chair. They have a private secretary who is responsible for all the correspondence of the CPRB. It's also responsible for all the findings letters, all the notification letters, and all the disposition letters that go out to our CDP officers, the employees, and the complainants to allow them to know where their case is at, what was the final disposition of that case, or if that case has been put through to the chair. So there was a finding, something was sustained. We want to let them know something has been sustained, it is now going to go to the chief or it's going to go to the director. So that's the main job of the private secretary. The private secretary puts together the training recommendations, any policy recommendations that may come out of the investigations from the investigators. They put that correspondence together, they give it over to the chair, and then we submit that to the appropriate proponent for that information. All of our seats are filled. We have no empty seats at this time, so we are a full board.
Is there compensation for that board?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
It's a monthly stipend.
okay.
And then these are the demographics of the board currently. So we have 4 females, 6 males, 5 white, and then 5 African American. As you can see, the education level is very diverse as well, and they're all residents of the city. We didn't break down the districts or the wards. Next time we'll do that, but they're obviously all residents of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may, going back to your original question about the stipend, in all honesty, what we found as we get just the board itself to a working level where we're able to get through cases as we should and fairly quickly, and then with the commission coming online, the workload of the board is a bit more than what I think people initially signed on to. We engage in a sort of a HR oversight, as we're tasked with hiring and approving members of OPS. So I foresee, as we get this board to where me and Administrator Perez believe it needs to be, that workload will continue. So there may be a point, and I know this has to go across all boards and commissions, but that stipend we may have to take a look at that.
Okay, but I will tell you this, and I'm cautioning all departments and directors and officials. None of us have a crystal ball as it pertains to the economy. Should issue 38 pass, that's another 14 million out of the general fund. That's why all members, including the mayor, and all the bargaining units have opposed issue 38, have gone on record as opposed to issue 38. Just the new, and we haven't received those in council yet, the anticipated increases within the division of police, that's estimated to be another $16 million based on today's staffing level. And so, and once the police budget increases, now the Citizens Police Review Board receive additional funds out of the police budget. So there is a domino effect taking place here. So I would caution everybody, we've got to be more cautious than ever before as it pertains to this budget going into next year. I mean, I tell this people all the time, this body, working with the administration, had a balanced budget this year. Look across the nation, the number of cities who do not have a balanced budget. We do. And are we happy with the level of services in the city? No, we're not. We'd like to see improved services in all areas. We'd like to see improved services. I met this week with the director of public health, who said to me he doesn't have enough health inspectors to do what he needs to do in the city. My colleagues are engaged with discussions with other directors and commissioners as well. So again, in a real world or ideal world, we'd like to do whatever we can to increase. I'm a firm believer that we need to look at where we have all these vacancies in the city, and when you get back to, when you really deep dive on them, it's because we cannot compete against the private sector. Our pay rate, our pay scale is way low compared to the private sector, and therefore we're losing people to the county. We're losing people to to private businesses. I was just looking at EMS billing, where we are down. We have 3 people left in EMS billing, where I think we had 16 people at one time. And so we can't get out invoices, but we're only paying around $21 an hour. I mean, this is something we have to start thinking out of the box here. So I'm just cautioning. I don't understand what you're saying, but I think this council's going to have to look at a budget, basically looking 3 years ahead, because none of us know what's going to transpire with the national economy, and so I think all of us have to be very cautious. We all want to improve things here. We want to expand things here, but if we're not fiscally responsible, then we're going to have ourselves in a jackpot come next year or in the years after that. So continue, Mr. Cross. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, in conclusion, I think Administrator Perez has made the case of where it is that we intend to go, and I have to applaud my board members for sometimes even doing special sessions to get rid of the backlog. So I am now the chair, and they elected me, so I have to put our concerns forward. The amount of hours that we put in, I think, exceed what we have expected. And we know it's not a hour-by-hour paid position, but needs to be compensated correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I appreciate the presentation. So let's get into the some quick questions, and then I'll open up for my other colleagues here. If I was to make a complaint today that I felt I was mistreated, how long would it take for that complaint to be heard?
Well, that depends, Mr. Chair. So when a complaint comes in, because of the backlog, we
Yes.
definitely prioritize which ones have elevated to a level to where it may be, if it's criminal, it's going to get elevated straight to IA. We're going to have to wait for IA to come back so we can finish ours. If it's not criminal, and it is a misconduct, administrative non-criminal misconduct, depending on what type it is, it could be completed fairly fast. That's a very difficult question because there's a lot of different complexities that go into
Okay.
it. If we can prove it off of WCS, so if your allegation, I can pull the officer's WCS and see that actually occurred.
Identify what WCS is.
So WCS is the wearable camera system.
Okay,
So if
the
you-
body cam.
The body
Correct.
cam, correct, Mr. Chair. So if you came in and you alleged that somebody used excessive force, threw you on the ground, and improperly arrested
Yes.
you, once we pull that WCS, if that WCS validates that, then we can go within 15 days, because basically all we have to do
Okay.
at that point in time, we have the WCS, we have the evidence, we're writing it up, we're identifying what's happening, we're pulling the GPOs and the policies down, and then we're having a discussion with you within 5 days.
GPO, General Police Order.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
The general police order.
Oh, for the viewing public, I want to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
Roger, sir, I understand. So we'll pull the police orders out. We'll start to get all of our questions together. We'll give you a call. We'll sit down. We'll do an interview with you. That interview would be taped as well. And then once we're done with that, we bring in the officers. We give them a letter to show. They come in. We interview
Okay.
with them. And then once that's complete and all the evidence is collected, we're able to then take that case and produce it. Right now, with the investigators that we've brought in, we have been able to close certain cases within 1 to 2 months and get them straight to the board that next month.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to aim for, is we want these cases to have resolution without being forgotten about. And we want the citizens to, if they want to come and speak to the board, we want them to have that opportunity.
You know, and I totally concur with you, because one of the things that I believe was one of the most outrageous practices here, which helped lead to the federal court, the Justice Department intervening here, was the fact that it took years for citizens to get a resolution to their complaint. I was aware of one case, 6 years. That was absolutely outrageous, that a citizen would have to wait 6 years to have resolution. It was a family from the West Side. And that to me was, that's just outrageous. So what you're telling us at the table, there should be no cases that would linger for years here. Is that what you're telling us? I want to know that.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, once we are fully staffed, we have a backlog of about 200 cases, 100 and some cases from 2022. So we still have to get through that. We are we're about 4 investigators short only because of the train up that one of the investigators is going to have
Okay.
to go through. Once we are fully staffed and we have everything that we need, we should be able to work on this. We will, with a senior investigator as a permanent now, we have established a very solid process when it comes to case management. And case management is that senior does not work on cases. That senior reads every single case that is out there that is still ongoing
Yep.
and identifies which ones those investigators have to start working on today. And then he prioritizes that. Because there are so many to prioritize, so it's going to take us some time to get through that. The intent, though, is in 2024 to clear our backlog, to be 100% in the green and able to turn cases over within the 45-day period as it's mandated. That's not a far-fetched ability for us or capability for us. We just have to get through this backlog.
So when do you think you're going to fill the empty positions?
So those job announcements have been posted. People are filling out applications as we speak. We have one individual that's going to be coming up to the board for nomination and approval. And then we are still actively looking at 3. We still have 3 vacancies open, so we're actively looking for 3 investigators. When it comes to the community engagement officer, we've had 17 individuals apply. We start interviews next week. To answer your question, by January 1st, we believe that we should have our full structure. Everybody in place. Then we'll have 2 months to do our onboarding, orientation,
Yes.
get people trained up, and get them out in front of the board with investigations. And
Okay.
Get
So
them
you're-
operational.
So with your $1.9 million budget, you do have a surplus at this point then because of the vacancies?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So
Mr. Chair.
So I'm assuming there'll be to my colleagues, there'll be a transfer ordinance coming up sometime soon on that respect. Yes.
Mr. Chair, in regards to the process, there is a part of it that is time sensitive, and that is the time to report from the citizen to report their complaint. I believe it is 60 days. So they have to get it in within that 60-day period.
6 months.
Sorry.
6 months,
Thank
Mr.
you for
Chair.
the correction.
6 months?
A
6
6-month
months.
reporting
So to the
period.
viewing public,
That's why I wanted to bring
you
it up.
have 6 months from the date of what you believe to be the occurrence
Correct.
to file a complaint.
Yes.
Correct, Mr. Chair, but I want to clarify, if we are discussing a dispatcher or an employee, you have 10 days. So if you have an incident that has occurred with the dispatcher, you have 10 days from the incident.
10 days with the police or police, fire, EMS dispatcher, correct? Is it just police?
Just
Just
police.
police.
Okay.
Just
okay.
police. You have 6 months
Okay.
from date of incident.
Okay. Is there any other, so it's 6 months on an individual, 10 days on a dispatcher, any other?
No, those are the two big ones.
Okay, okay. Just again, because we're going to move on, briefly, what's working and what's not working?
So I would say what's not working is, the fact that OPS did not have leadership for a while, permanent leadership. They had leadership, but not permanent leadership. That hurt OPS because there was no vision, there was no strategy. There wasn't an investment to say, where are we going to be at in 2 years? Where are we going to be at in
Right.
4 years? And that's what's hurting the agency. What it became was, and you talked about it a little bit when we talk about salary, is that because they were missing that type of leadership, they were bringing in people at a very high salary, but weren't productive. And that hurts OPS. That hurts OPS every day, because the more you have a person sitting in that position only doing the bare minimum when it comes to investigations, that's not what they're there for. When we looked at police oversight, we're looking at people who are passionate and who want to serve people. And when you want to serve someone, it doesn't matter what hours of the day they need you. You're there. You have a desire to be there. That's a priority to you. And I would say that OPS did not have that priority. They didn't have that passion. They didn't have that drive or desire. And I think that has hurt us. As we have moved and as we have evolved and as we have tried to enhance our operational footprint, with the board especially, we have had the support. That's working well. The support from the board, the support from the city leadership, the support from human resource department.
Yeah.
Those things are working well right now. When I first got here, there was a lot of gray. We didn't know where we could operate. We didn't know who we could go to for resources. We didn't have an understanding of, if I need something, can I call someone from the city because we're independent? There was a lot of miscommunication and misinformation. That has been cleared up in the last 6 months, and it's been cleared up because you guys have brought in the right people for these positions. Having Dr. Anderson in her position with the PAT team brings such a level of insight because it allows us to operate independently, but still be able to have touch points with people within the city when we need things, when we're having concerns, when we're having issues with personnel, when we're talking about training, when we're talking about just having the right technology in front of us to be able to do these investigations.
So you've been on board how long now?
6 months.
6
Mr. Chair.
months. So, again, what you're telling me that the people who were there, who were well paid, were not performing.
OPS was not performing. I will tell you, OPS was not performing. And that's a fact. When you looked at the CPBR, they had over 140 backlog cases that they needed to hear. In 4 months, the chair has brought that down to 24 cases, which means 16 cases are going to be heard this coming month in November in 2 weeks. That brings them down to just 8 cases in backlog.
Because you know the federal monitor, I attended the hearing in federal court, and we're attempting to get them to come to the council, which we believe they should, and give us a more in-depth, detailed explanation. They indicated that that there's still issues. There's still issues here that need to be addressed, and that have not been addressed. And so, at the end of the day, we have spent a substantial amount of money, millions and millions of dollars. And as I couldn't stay to the very end because I had 3 other meetings to go to, but I read their synopsis, and I said to myself, they ain't going anywhere anytime soon because of their findings and their opinions, and even the judge said at the bench that he's going to have to become more involved in the process. That was very clear. He said that he's going to have to become more involved in the process. So we talk about all the issues that we need to fund, priorities that we have within the body. We got to get this right. We got to get this straight. This has been years and years, and we still we haven't gotten it. And I have to say again to the administration, they got to get it right. They got to get it straight here. All these sections that were either before the consent decree or after, they got to get it right. They got to get it right. Council can't administer. We cannot administer. We're prohibited by law. We can't deploy. We can't hire. We can't discipline. But we look to the administration. We funded this department. We funded it. Mm-hmm. What we were asked to fund, we did that. So, you've told us what are still some of the issues. What's working right?
So what's working right is, so over the last 6 months, we've hired on 4 new investigators. And that has changed the culture. The culture of an environment or an organization, it takes time to change that. But sometimes when you're changing out certain individuals or certain personalities, certain desires on why people want to be where they're at,
right.
That's a 180, and that has occurred. If you come into OPS and you sit and you just observe with the investigators, you will find individuals that collaborate, individuals that discuss, individuals that talk. No longer is it one person doing one investigation from start to finish. It is a number of individuals having peer reviews, discussing about different opinions, discussing about different ways, different approaches, reminding one another, hey, have you called this individual? Hey, have you talked to this individual? It's people caring about the organization and not caring about themselves. Like, no one in OPS, when they leave, no one's going to remember, and no one should. What they should remember is OPS. They should remember what OPS stands for, what OPS can deliver, and how effective and legitimate OPS is, and how it serves the people. That's what every citizen should remember. They should not remember, did this person leave? Did this investigator leave? Did this administrator leave? That's not what OPS was ever created for. And when we talk about like what works well, our investigators work well, our staff works well. People that want to serve people, they're getting it, they're understanding it. You will probably start seeing more investigators out there in the community. And that is why it is so important, and the chair and I both agree that when we bring somebody in, it is the whole person, the whole concept, not just work experience, not just education,
Yes.
but creating non-degree pathways for people who have a passion for this, who want to be a practitioner in oversight. You don't need a degree. You don't need something fancy. You just need to have love, and you need to have the good intent in your heart for what the people need. And we can identify those people. The Cleveland has a lot of those people. It's just giving them the opportunity to walk through the door and then helping them to develop and set up for success.
Okay, so you assured us that you believe that all the positions will be filled going into next year that
Yes, Mr. Chair.
are presently open, and that this critical area, which has an impact on the consent decree, will be operated in a much more professional manner than it has in the past.
That is correct.
Okay. And we have the assurance of the chair of the board as well.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Speaking for the board, we intend to give Administrator Perez all the tools that he needs to make it successful. In all honesty, we're digging out of a hole. I think.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, and that's all you know what, I'm of the opinion is this. I always would love to hear good news at this table. But what I want to hear is the honest news.
Yeah.
So, because I can deal with the honest news. What I can't deal with, and I won't deal with, is people who come to the table and try to mislead us and tell us something that's not true. Then there's going to be a problem. Bad news, indifferent news, as long as it's the straight news, this body can collectively deal with it. We can figure out what to do, working together to fix things and make things right here. Because I look at this two paths. We want to provide protection and a voice and a vehicle for our citizens who believe they were done wrong. On the other side, I want to make sure police officers are protected, that they're not being accused unjustly, because I talk to the police officers all the time. They feel they're under the gun. They feel that the citizens are not supporting them. They feel that they're being vilified, not only here but nationally, and that's difficult for us in trying to attract police officers. So this area is very important. That if you abuse somebody, you violated their rights, then you get what you deserve. But if you're being unjustly accused, and you're being then you need to be vindicated. You need to be vindicated. So at the end of the day, questions of my colleagues, questions, because we still have one other section to do yet. Any questions? I appreciate the information you provided. Again, we're going to be looking for more ward data. And whatever you can provide from a district to ward data, because again, if there's something out of whack here, because I've always maintained the leadership sets the tone in a district. I want to say that again. The leadership sets the tone in a police district. And if a commander or the command staff within a district is not on their game and not setting the standard, not setting the tone, you're going to have problems. And you're going to have a district that will not be operating the way it should be. So again, I can't stress that enough. So again, I want to thank you both for being at the table. You have my numbers and my email. If you need to update me on anything, please provide whatever you can to council members. Engage with us. because we want to have a working relationship here. We want to have a working partnership. If there's things that aren't working, we need to be aware of it. So how we can help fix it. I mean, again, I just sat in that federal courtroom. I'm saying, my goodness, why can't we get this straight? Why can't we get this right after all this time? I'm not happy. I'm not happy about it. That we have, federal monitors saying, whoa, wait a minute. People aren't talking to us. They're not engaging us. That's got to be corrected. But council can't correct that. We can't correct that. It's up to the administration to correct that stuff. So, okay, without any further ado, thank you for coming to the table. We now have up.
I just want to,
Yes,
just one
go
thing
ahead.
before that. I just through the chair to the team here, Administrator Perez. I specifically want to say thank you. Thank you for your leadership. It has been evident, and since you have joined the city of Cleveland, really trying to help and assemble just good people to really get us on the right track. You are out within the community. Again, educating, communicating with people, and please, I just want you to know it is noticed. You might not get the thank yous because none of us do, but I really wanted to say thank you so much for your service. I know it's not easy, but I think we definitely are on the right track, and with the team that has been assembled, we're going the right path. So I would be remiss if not to publicly thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, that old saying, even a dog likes getting patted on the head now and then, okay? Remember that. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, Police Review Board. Anybody here? Police Review Board.
No, she was here.
Wait a minute, we're going to,
She just went outside.
Police Review Board.
Yeah.
You,
That was us.
That was her.
no,
They
excuse me.
both here. They did it together.
Well, I thought Dr. Anderson was coming up.
That's Pat. She's doing it on the 8th of November,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
She
Yeah,
just
we
sat in
finished.
attendance?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's up. We're done.
Yeah, right, okay, I'm thinking of something else here.
Yes, we're done.
Yeah, okay, thank you all. Yeah, right, I know, right. I think that's my colleagues for being here. This was not a scheduled regular safety committee hearing, but I want to thank all of you because it shows me you care about what's transpiring. And you can see we had a lot of work to do. And we've got a lot of work to do before the budget. I'm greatly concerned about the city's finances going into next year and making sure that these departments and sections are operating the way we want them to operate. So again, I want to say this again to all members, any pre-budget request on any section that falls under the safety committee, please direct them to the research staff because we're compiling that. We don't want individuals just sending stuff over to the administration. We want to submit everything. So if you have something that you gotta have an answer to, start putting it down and let's get it over to the research staff. So on that note, any further questions for me at all? Again, I thank you all for being here. Committee's adjourned.